No, you don't need a fancy Notion planner. You don't need more self-help videos, and you certainly don't need to just try harder either. What you need is to establish a reference signal. Let me cook. Every day you wake up, you tell yourself that today's the day I will finally get focused. But by noon, you're scrolling and leaving you nothing but scattered and drained and wondering how the fuck did everything go wrong. Understand that it's not you that's the problem, it's your system. Think about the Romans. When they wanted water, they did not wait for the fucking rain. They simply built a structure that delivered water every single day without fail. Your goals need to be the exact same way, which is exactly why you need to establish a reference signal. One goal, one unit of measurement, and the four Aristotelian causes. That's all it takes. This system does not rely on willpower, it just works. Realize that when the whole system is installed in place, you don't chase your goal chases you. Part 1. I'm not special at all. I started self-improvement about 4 years ago with the same goals as you. Make money, fuck bitches, and all that basic shit. I'm gonna try and give you the best real advice that fucking works in contact with reality instead of leaving you motivated but your life stays the same, because it's unreal how much progress I've made in the last year alone. Real world progress. After installing this very system, I ran an ultra marathon, I got over 8 million impressions online, and scaled my esport business to 2K per month. Yet, no one in this space is talking about what I'm gonna cover here. But it wasn't always like this. 2 years before that point, I had major imposter syndrome, strong existential doubt, and total inability to control myself to do what I actually wanted to fucking do. One small crack in my action and I would end up binging the whole roster of bad habits. My addictions quite literally ate me alive, and I was being torn apart by these two sides in my head. Honestly, it would get so existential and so painful where I'm constantly asking, what's the fucking point of all this? What is the future looks like? Do I even want to succeed? And if so, then why can't I bring this shitty body to do what I wanted to do? It wasn't fun at all. The system that I'm gonna give you here in this video will answer all of these questions for you. This is different than any other videos you've seen before because I didn't pull this out of my fucking ass like everybody else. I kid you not when I say that I had to read books from 300 before fucking Christ that looked like gibberish to be able to discover what I'm gonna teach you in the following sections. I had to go to the original source like Aristotle and Socrates because the modern day teachings have just gotten so fucking noisy and everyone is just parroting the same bullshit, you know. However, luckily for you, I'm here, you know, the savior himself. I found the true knowledge, I went to it, I farmed it just so that you don't need to do so because it's literally gibberish. Like I said, I swear sometimes reading this shit feels like I'm reading Chinese and not fucking English. I think having a middle ground balance in your position is the best place to be in, to be honest. I personally wouldn't want to be in my situation, to be honest, but I don't have the choice since no one on the internet is doing this for self-improvement space, you know? So, Femboy Big Bro got to step up. Now, who is the source of knowledge when it comes to goal breakdowns? It's none other than Aristotle himself, whose methods are still used today 2,300 years later, which is fucking insane. I will be showing you how he does it. And this guy was the teacher of Alexander the Great, so I think he knows a thing or two about cause and effect and how to achieve a goal, right? This video is very actionable, and I created a PDF document to complete so that your little autistic brain can actually implement what you're going to learn here instead of like leaving without any actions. So it's completely for free. Just go down, click here, and click this purple button, and you will find the document in the classroom section. Let's begin. Part 2. Debunking Luck. Telling you that I'm not special is not enough. I once watched a video by Hamza and he said something that gave me a lot of comfort and confidence at the time. He said, if I did it, then anyone can. I'm a dumbass. I'm not special. I'm not lucky. So are you. That worked for a while until the existential doubt hit me like a fucking truck and a new stronger argument came up in my mind. What if he actually got lucky, but he believes that he succeeded because of hard work when it's not, you know? This is so fucking important to cover because if you genuinely believe that success is outside of your control, then no advice, no action, and no knowledge will save you from that. So I created a whole literal logical argument explaining why it's literally impossible to succeed with luck using pure reason alone. And when you have reason, you stop relying on hope or faith, and doubt lose all of its strength because you know with certainty it can't be any other way, you know. So slow down a little bit here and pay attention to this argument, okay? Aristotle has made a distinction between two things in reality: things that exist by nature, which falls under the physis category, and things that exist by a mind, which falls under the techni category. For example, a rock exists by nature under the physis category. It's just there and it doesn't depend on your mind or anyone else's mind to exist. In fact, it's probably millions of years older than all of us. However, if you look at something like a chair, for example, it needs a mind to be able to come into fruition and stay in existence. Thus, it falls under the techni category. Without an active mind taking care of the chair, entropy will kick in and the chair will inevitably crumble and goes back to its original state in physis, which is just wood, you know. If all minds will disappear from Earth today, then chairs would also disappear after enough time. It might take 1,000 or 1,000,000 years, but eventually they will all disappear, you know. But rocks will still remain. In other words, it's impossible to have order without an active mind to produce it. The physis category, which doesn't depend on minds, usually happens through pure accidents alone. You can argue against that and say, yeah, nah, it's God that is doing this and it's not an accident, but that's beside the point, you know. Here, I'm just talking about it from a purely probabilistic view. Forget about God for a second and think about it this way. If all active minds will disappear from the universe, then the chance of a new chair appearing on Earth again is absolutely 0%, whereas the rock's probability is greater than 0%. But why am I telling you all of this shit? How do rocks and chairs relate to your goal? Well, any goal or desire you have in life sits in the techni category produced by a mind and not in the physis, meaning that it depends on your mind for it to exist in the first place. This is very important to know because a lot of people, when they think about success, the first automatic response that comes to their mind, especially when things get very fucking tough, is that success is just luck, genetics, or giftedness, you know. This assumes that order and goals exist first out of chance, and then the person just found them and he got lucky, he stumbled upon it. But like I explained earlier, the chance of that happening is quite literally 0% because the goal can only exist if there is a mind to produce it. It comes out of the mind, not out of chance. In other words, there's no luck when it comes to being successful at all. We can literally use a logic syllogism to prove this point even further. Premise 1. All things produced by luck or pure chance and without intention or deliberate causation exist by physis. Premise 2. Success, goals, and achievements exist by techni, not by physis. Conclusion, therefore, success is not luck. This one syllogism alone annihilates every single paradigm of losers who complain about successful people being lucky or evil, such as the black pillars or the billionaire's hater, for examples. My argument does not claim that luck never influences outcomes. It does not claim that everyone starts equal or that success is guaranteed. That's not what I'm saying. But it's still an absolute proof that cannot be argued against, which is that success cannot exist without deliberate mental causation. Therefore, it cannot be explained by luck alone. Therefore, luck is at most, at best, a modifier, not a creator of success. This is not my opinion. I'm not saying this to make people feel comfortable or angry. This is the truth. It's pure cause and effect, you know. If anyone disagrees with this, they're not proving me wrong. They are rejecting all of teleology, causation, and the models that all of civilization is built on top of, which is fine, you know, you can do that. But then these people need to come up with a new theory on how the world actually works. And I doubt that a Discord mod or a Redditor will do a better job than Aristotle, you know. Randomness does not build structures. Good clay does not make a pot. Only a potter does, even if he had bad clay. And this applies to everything else in life. I don't know why it's so hard for some people to digest this. Anyone with more than 2 brain cells and is grounded in logic will find this easy to grasp, you know. The reason why I'm going on a rant here is because if you fundamentally believe that success needs luck to take place, then no amount of knowledge, advice, or actions will save you from that. But like I just explained, no amount of luck can produce success since they're not even in the same category of existence, you know. So completely eliminate luck out of your mind when pursuing something in real life and never debate this dumb fucking idea ever again because not only it's false, but it will never serve you well. Part 3. Meta goals. Now that you understand that success doesn't just happen randomly and it can only exist through mental causation, we can move on to the next step of defining what do you even want to achieve, you know? And yet, once again, no one in the self-help space actually explains how to do this properly. The prerequisite before anything else is to establish what I call your meta goals. Meta means above or beyond, you know? So meta goals is a term that I came up with, which describes the goal that influences every single aspect of your life, no matter what end result you're pursuing. To know whether you should be pursuing a normal goal or a meta goal, all you have to do is just simply answer these questions with a black and white yes or no, just keep it simple. The first is the fulfillment goal. Do you have a clear idea on what you want to do with your future, or at least a clear idea of what you don't want to do? And for the thing that you want to do, right, do you enjoy it and do you derive genuine fulfillment from it, or does it feel like a chore? Solving this problem should be the priority above everything else, because if you don't have a strong why, then you will never be able to continue. This is what creates the path you're going to walk on. The goal here is to basically to answer the good old question of what am I gonna do with my life? You want to have a rough idea of what you're gonna spend your time doing on this rock spinning in the middle of nowhere. The answer to this question doesn't have to be perfect or 100%, but you just need to have a small, clear idea of what you want to have at least over the next 1 to 3 years. It doesn't have to be perfect. The second one is a meta learning goal. So, do you know how to collect, filter, and apply information to your life? Can you tell what's noise and what's signal? Can you improve or refine your beliefs and skills over time without ambiguity? Solving this problem should be the second priority above hard work, above discipline, and all of that gay fag shit, because without this, nothing will fucking work, and you will keep on running in circles over and over again, hoping for the gods of luck to be generous, which is not happening. I can tell you that right now. Trust me, I tried it. The goal here is to basically learn how does learning itself works. How does knowledge acquisition works? How does one go about knowing shit, solving problems, and answering questions? This is more important than action, because when learning something new, you are in a vulnerable state and it's easy to exploit you by bullshit. If you take action on the wrong thing, your life doesn't just stay where it is. You don't learn from mistakes. It gets 100 times worse, and it's not a position you want to be in. The third one is a self-control goal. Can you actually do what you said you're going to do at least 90% of the time? Can you maintain that 90% and stay on the right track for at least 6 to 12 months? And when I say staying on track, I don't mean like working 15 hours a day like this dumb nigga would say it. No, I mean just not shooting yourself in the foot with the bad habits that you know very clearly you shouldn't be doing, and doing the good actions that you know very clearly that you should be doing. It's having peace of mind. It's knowing that you are on the right track and doing well. So the goal here is to learn how to direct the mind and the body towards what you want them to do. I define self-control as the ability to direct. Okay? It's when you have no friction between what you want to do and actually doing it. This can be mentally or physically. So basically, the fulfillment goal will answer what you need to do. The meta learning goal will answer how to know shit. And the self-control goal will answer how to get it done and actually do the work. If you don't have a clear black and white conviction behind your answers to these questions with the real world results to back up your claims, then you really need to sort that out before anything else. You cannot imagine how much I suffered in life because of this shit. You literally cannot achieve anything in your life if these three are not in check. Completely forget about money. You should forget about that shit. Forget about girls. Forget about socializing. Forget about good grades and building the aesthetic body, blah, blah, blah. None of that shit will happen. I promise you, if you don't sort these first meta goals out first, then you can't really do it properly. Even if you make some progress, it's not going to be good. And I really wish someone had told me this back when I started, because I've set this dumb dog shit goal of making $10,000 per month just because that's what everyone else was saying you should achieve. When in reality, that wasn't the thing I was supposed to be working at in that point in time, because different people requires different goals, which is common sense, but everyone's just copying everyone, and it's so fucking retarded. It pissed me off talking about the self-improvement space, honestly. At that time, I couldn't even stop beating my meat to thick thighs goat mummies 4 times a day. And instead of focusing on that as a fucking goal, instead of focusing on self-control as a goal in of itself, I was feeling guilty about not being a millionaire doing 12 hours of deep work and drinking 5 cups of coffee a day just because that's what Andrew Tate said you should be doing. It's so fucking dumb. And I hate this manosphere space with every single ounce of my being, because not only the advice is pure dog piss, but the worst part is that you genuinely believe that you're on the right track when your life is actively getting worse without you even realizing it. Part 4. one goal. So after answering the questions from the previous section, you now know whether you should be pursuing a meta goal or a normal goal, which is like whatever goal you want, right? In this section, I want to explain why you need to pick just one goal and one goal only. Don't pick more, okay? You know, everyone in the self-improvement space says this quote of like, the man who chases two rabbits catches none. But no one really ever explains why that's true. Why? Why can't the nigga catch his two rabbits? You know, who says he can't? You know, I'll tell you why. There are really three reasons behind this, right? Finite energy, opportunity cost, and non-linearity. You've probably never heard about these concepts before, so I explain them in very simple terms. Let's start with finite energy. Obviously, in physics, energy is defined as the ability to do work or the ability to cause change. It's not some magical manifestation frequency rubbish. That's not what energy is. Basically, energy says that the more energy you have, the more work you can do. It's as simple as that. Think of energy as like money, right? Just like how you use your money to trade with a business for goods or services, you can use your energy to trade with the universe for cause and effect, you know? However, there is a cap, you know? You don't have infinite energy. Just like how you get paid a fixed salary per month, you also can only absorb so much energy in one day. So on average, you know, normal digestion is capped out around 17 to 25,000 kilojoules per day, which is the unit we use to measure energy. It's around 4 to 6K calories a day, you know, for most people. So if you go beyond that point, you start vomiting, you know, you start having diarrhea or experiencing just storage inefficiency. Elite athletes, obviously, they can push that limit, but they are an exception. They're not the rules. This is still a good reference for what the ceiling is for most people. So there is a limit, right? That's number one. Number two is that not only there is a limit, but there's what's called opportunity cost. This is very simple. If you get something, then you are not getting something else. Every action you take automatically eliminates other possible actions, you know? When you spend that finite energy working on goal A, that energy is permanently unavailable for goal B. There is no refund system IRL, you know? Time, attention, and energy, they only flow forward in time. You can't go backward, right? So this is where chasing two rabbits really starts to break down, because people think that they are balancing two goals at once. But in reality, they are constantly paying opportunity cost without realizing it. Every unit of energy you allocate to one direction is a unit of energy that you can't allocate somewhere else. And because your total energy is capped, like we explained earlier, splitting it does not give you more, it just fragments what you already have. So you're not progressing in two paths, you're actually slowing both of them down, you know? Now, the third more important piece that most people really struggle to understand is non-linearity. Most people subconsciously assume that reality is linear, you know, because that's what the brain likes the most. So they assume if 10 units of energy produce 10 units of return, then 5 units of energy should produce 5 units of return, right? But that's not how the real world works at all. Progress does not add up, it multiplies. Thresholds exist and the momentum matters a lot more than you think. In a non-linear system, 10 units of energy might produce 10 units of return, while 8 units of energy might only produce 5 units of return and not 8. Those last 2 units of energy can be the difference between breaking a threshold and never crossing it at all, even though the amount of effort is very close, you know? They are the difference between being invisible and being noticed, between almost good and undeniably great, between no feedback loops and a self-reinforcing one. When you split your energy between two goals, you often end up with 5 units of energy in each one, right? Instead of 10 in just one. And instead of getting 10 return from one path, you get 3 from each. If you are lucky, that is. Most of the time, it's a lot lower than that, you know, because neither goal reaches the point where momentum actually kicks in. And this is for just 2 goals. Now imagine if you have 3 or 4, it gets exponentially worse, right? This is why picking one goal is not an optional motivational tactic. It's a mathematical necessity. You have to do this shit. It's not even a fucking debate, you know? Once you achieve your goal and make progress in that area of life, then you can move on to the next thing and make progress there if you are the type of person who enjoys variety. But to cross the threshold in the first place, you can't be doing 2 things at once. You can't do that, okay? Here's a better quote to keep in mind. 10 kilometers in one direction get you further away than 1 kilometer in 10 directions, okay? Let's move on to the next section. But before I do that, I just want to say that if you made it this far into the video, then it shows how dedicated you are to transforming your life. And I want you to join the team so that we can pour more fuel onto the fire and make you more dangerous, you know? So obviously there is no pressure or anything. This is more for the guys who are really serious. If you don't want it, don't fucking do it, right? Pause this video, scroll up, and dislike this photo, and subscribe from the show, and don't click the first link in the description. Don't do it. Don't click this purple button. Part 5, Overthinking and Overshooting. In this section, all you have to do is just pick something. And a lot of people, they get stuck in this stage due to overthinking or overshooting, you know? It's fucking insane. Here, I want you to write down your goal statement. It's in very, very simple terms. You don't have to overthink it, right? Make it very simple and easy to understand. If you don't know what goal you want to pursue, then your goal is to know what goal you want to pursue. Like, that's what the meta fulfillment goal is about, you know? Now, I've already created these statements for you when it comes to the meta goals. So just pick the right one for you from the PDF, right? If you already have achieved these meta goals, then you need to create your own statement for what you want to pursue right now, okay? Now, there is another way people fuck this up, which is aiming too high. Your goal statement must be fucking realistic. Everyone keeps screaming at your face, oh yeah, dream big, you know, think massive, aim for the stars, bro, achieve greatness, become a gazillionaire. That's pure horse piss, okay? It sounds good on Instagram, but it does not survive when it comes in contact with fucking reality. Your goal statement has to be fucking realistic. I can't believe I have to give this advice, you know? If you want real world results, you need realistic goals. It's common sense, you know? When you aim too high, you became blind to early progress. You are moving forward, but because the target is so far away, you mistake progress for nothing. You get no feedback, you get no momentum and no reinforcement, and your brain just goes pop. Okay, this is not working. And even if it's working, the progress is way too slow for the goal. I give up. But in reality, it's not true at all. It's just that you shot too fucking high, and this is how everyone fucking quit. So lower the bar of success. Not because you're a bitch, not because you have a small dick like all of these other gurus will fucking shame you for it, but because you're trying to get real world fucking results, not imaginary ones. Know your level and make a decision from there. When the bar is set correctly, progress becomes visible, and visible progress creates confidence, which loops back around and resulting in more progress, creating a self-reinforcing feedback loop that produces compounding effects later on down the line, like I explained in my previous videos. But for that to happen in the first place, you must start somewhere, and that somewhere is a small goal at first. So basically, just ask yourself, what is one step forward from where I actually am right now? One step, just one fucking step, you know? Just put one foot in front of the other. Forget the 10K per month. Forget the aesthetic body. Forget the femboys and the thick ghost mummies, you know? To be honest, you have great taste, but I'm not telling you to stop being ambitious, right? I'm telling you to stop being delusional. If the meta goal section seemed insightful or eye-opening to you, then that's because you are setting your bars way, way too high to the point where you can't even see what's in front of you right now. Fix the fucking basics such as self-control and have some basic problem-solving skills, and then move on to the next thing, right? How the fuck do you expect yourself to hit a big goal when you can't even do the small ones, you know? You don't understand the basics yet, let alone the advanced shit. Do you really want 10K per month? Cool. What causes one sale? You don't learn that by reading about it, you learn it by making one sale in the real fucking world. Then 5, then 10, not 1,000, you know? So set that as a goal, you know? Just hit your first sale. Hit it, and then raise the bar of success from there as you go. You want to earn your ambition through physical results, not fucking cosplay it or pretend like you do. Once you pick a good realistic goal statement, it's going to be your North Star for everything you do from this point on, you know? Anything that doesn't contribute to this statement becoming a reality should be eliminated from your life. To know if your goal statement is solid or not, make sure it ticks these 4 boxes. It must be short, it must be simple to understand, it must be to the point so there is no vagueness about it, and it must be realistic. Now, I know that it's easy for me here to stand here and tell you, yeah, don't overthink it, bro, you know, just pick one goal. I know exactly what happens in your head as I say that, right? The pressure hits you even stronger, right? So you start thinking this decision will lock you into some permanent, irreversible future. Like, if you choose the wrong thing, then your life is fucked forever. That's bullshit. It's just fear of missing out. This pressure you feel is not wisdom, it's not you being smart or careful, it's just fear cosplaying itself as intelligence. Overthinking is just procrastination wearing a suit pretending to be fucking smart when it's not, you know. You're not being careful, you're being scared to commit to motion. I'll give you a big insight, honestly, that helped me a lot back in the days when I used to be like a little autistic overthinker. You don't need certainty before you move. You move to create certainty. You want to do it now and then just trust your ability to figure it out later, because you will figure it out eventually, as long as you don't quit, of course. You've solved way harder problems in your life under worse conditions. This is nothing special. You just need to write a fucking sentence, bro. It's not that deep, It just feels special because you are sitting still and not moving. And relax. You're not marrying the fucking goal. This is not a lifelong vow, It's an experiment. It's a hypothesis. You pick this direction, you apply force to it, you don't quit, and you observe reality's response. If the data after a few months tells you to adjust, then you can adjust easily, No one is holding you back. But you can only do that after the cause and effect takes place, You're not locked with this thing forever. You can change whenever you actually get some real world results and real world data, We just need you to take action for now, because action reveals clarity. You don't think your way into knowing, you act your way into knowing. You don't sit around until the fog gets clear. You walk forward and the fog moves with you. You don't learn to swim by reading about water. You fucking swim. It's common sense, okay? So stop worshipping decisions. It's fucking retarded. Pick one, move, and let reality teach you the rest, okay? Part 6. Cause and effect. The physical world as we observe it is not static. It's changing and forever becoming. It's in a continuous state of motion. Things constantly move from a state of potentiality to actuality. In other words, something begins with having the potential to change, and then it moves in a state of actuality where it's actually changed in the physical world. Your goal is an effect, it's the end result. And now we get to the fun, meaty part, which is identifying how does this effect comes to existence, What must take place? What is the cause of an effect? Right now, you exist in a state of potentiality, meaning that you only have the potential to become successful, but that potential, it's still not actualized. Imagine a marble, okay? That marble has the potential to become many, many different statues, but only one of them is actualized, if any at all. And for that to happen, 4 different types of causes must take place. Material causes, formal causes, efficient causes, and final causes. When you understand these 4 causes, then you understand the essence of something beyond reason or sensation alone. These 4 causes contributes to every effect taking place and every transformation of potential to actual, okay? Let's go over them one by one, and I will be using getting head from a goth baddie as an example for a goal, because why not, right? So the first one is the material cause. Here, you gotta ask yourself, what matter must exist before your transformation even begins, Your job here is to identify the different big necessary material elements in the world, which without them, the goal cannot even exist at all. So for our beautiful example, the material causes will be alt culture, the girl herself, you, and some communication tool, either IRL or online. Without these elements, the idea can't even exist, I would highly recommend that you don't go above 3 or 4 material causes maximum, Try and think of the necessary elements and not the optional ones. The second one is the formal cause. What structure or pattern that makes this thing itself and not something else? Your job here is to identify what is the pattern or arrangements the materials need to be in to be considered as a successful actualization. What is the end form, Think of this as like the blueprint, which without it, the final effects stop being itself, What is the structure? What makes this goal itself and not just 2 friends or grape or just prostitution, It's consensually having your dick in her mouth for free. That's the form. If you don't have this, that's the form, So if you don't have this, then you don't really have the goal at all, and you're just being a delusional little nigga. The third one is the efficient cause. What or who is the external agent which acts on the materials to transform them into the form? Your job here is to identify whoever or whatever caused the final form to come into existence. This is the thing that turns the potential materials into actual physical form, you know? So for our example here, this is you approaching the bitch, you know, flirting with her, escalating and making it obvious that you are here to fuck and not get friend zoned or some dumb shit, right? This efficient cause turns the materials into the physical form. So prior to the efficient cause, the form is just in the mind. It doesn't exist yet. But now, this is where the actualization process actually happens. And similar to the material cause, you know, you can identify the efficient cause by asking yourself, what are the big necessary steps that these elements must go through to become the final form? Again, ignore the small details. For now, just focus on identifying the 3 to 4 big major steps and have them in order, okay? So for our example here, the first big step is attraction, where you make the girl even knows that you fucking exist by finding her and then either approaching her or sending her a message, right? The second big step would be interest, you know, where you make her interested in you by showing that you are someone worthy, by showing that you are special, unique, you got something to actually offer her instead of some random horny gooner, you know, just trying to get pussy, right? And finally, the third big step would be probably conversion, you know, where you actually turn that interest into real cheeks getting clapped, you know, by being seductive, by being sexual. And that's how you identify the efficient cause, you know. You just look at like, what are the big steps, you know? Again, ignore the details for now. One extra advice I have here for you when defining the actions needed is that I want you to understand that there is no magic secret. There is no magic answer. Okay, the action should be very, very clear and obvious. Just ask yourself, what's that one action? The one action that if you don't do, the goal doesn't exist. For our example, it's probably like just communicating with the girl, right? Just talking with her. You know, that's probably the one that will increase that's probably the only action that matters more than anything else. And you want to try your absolute best to reduce anything which is not that. So think of the necessary things, you know. This action is usually the one that requires the highest level of willpower from you to do, because it's draining and taxing on the nervous system, you know, due to its density and due to it giving you the highest results, you know. And so it comes with a high level of cost as well. Last but not least, we have the final cause. Why does this effect even exist in the first place? Your job here is to identify, why does this thing even exist to begin with? What is the ultimate or final purpose of this actualization process? Well, for our example here in this case, the ultimate purpose would be to fulfill the mutual psychological desires of both parties to avoid the pain of loneliness and move towards the pleasure of intimacy through sexual acts, right? So the desire for intimacy, the avoidance of loneliness, and the use of sexual acts as a vehicle are the final causes, which drives the efficient to act on the material to actualize the form, okay? So there is a method you can use here to arrive at the final cause for your specific goal, and it's called Socratic reasoning. This is when you ask why 5 times or more, you know, until you arrive at the rock bottom of something. So you want to use this to discover basically your deeper psychological and philosophical driving motives behind this goal. Like, why do you even want this thing, you know? Ask why, and then when you get the first answer, ask why do you want that answer, and then you get another answer, and then ask why do you want that thing, until you reach rock bottom. And you will know when you reach rock bottom, it will just hit you, you know, it'll be like, holy fuck, this is why. And when you do it this way, you attack the goal from all different possible angles. Okay. You attack the goal from all possible angles, you know. Most people only ask, what should I do to succeed, you know, if they ask that at all. But those who ask it, they only just focus on the efficient cause, you know. But that's not enough. You need all the other 3 causes to be able to actually succeed, you know. Here, when you do it this way, you're playing like 4D fucking chess, you know. Part 7, the reference point. Now, this is why I'm teaching you all of this thing. I'm teaching you all of this just so that we can establish a reference point for you, okay? Once you have the goal statement ready and clear, you understand its cause and effect, the next thing you want to do is establishing what's called a reference point or a reference signal, okay? Our brains works on contrast. The only way for you to understand something and achieve it is to compare it to something else. And this is exactly why we need this, okay? A reference point helps you quantify your progress and know if you are actually getting closer to the target or getting further away from it. It's very simple and easy to do this if you did all the previous steps properly. All you have to do is just breaking down the goal statement and making it numerical, okay? I want you to try and do this by yourself first and then finish this section and see if you did it right or not, okay? Just ask yourself this. At what point do I consider this goal to be a success? And try to make it like a quantifiable and numerical, okay? Now, this is easier or harder to do depending on the goal that you have, okay? So, for example, if your goal is to get like good grades or make money, then it's pretty obvious what the unit of measurement is, right? It's just grades or money. But with other goals, it can be a little bit tricky, you know? Imagine like a goal like socializing, mental health, or like drawing, you know, for example. It can be like a little bit trickier. So go ahead and try to figure out this by yourself and then come back to this section, okay? Now, before I give you my method of doing this, I want you to watch this video by Sam Ovens, okay? This is the original video that gave me this idea that I'm going to explain here. He explains how big companies such as Amazon, Google, and Microsoft use this very same concept to grow their companies, you know. I would highly suggest you go and watch that video, okay? It's very beneficial. And now I'll give you my method of doing it. So the purpose of a reference point really is just to answer the question, compared to what? Compared to what exactly? How can I know I'm actually progressing, you know? And you can use it to measure about anything inside of a system, okay? The first step you want to do is identifying the substance and its contrast. What are you even measuring, you know? If the formal cause is at the end, right? And the material causes are at the start, then what is the thing that increased, you know? What changed? What is the thing that went from bad to good? For example, it's physical intimacy with the example that we are using, right? It's physical intimacy. We went from low physical intimacy to high physical intimacy. That's like the substance that we want to measure, you know? And the contrast is just low versus high physical intimacy. That's the contrast. So we went from getting no bitches at low physical intimacy to talking to bitches, which is slightly better, to having interest from the bitches and some physical touch, which is good, you know, and then clapping some cheeks and getting the ghost baddie giving us head at the end at high physical intimacy, you know. This is the number one thing you want to do, is just identify the contrast, you know, identify what is the substance that is being increased here, you know. And then the second step is to just establish an objective unit of measurement, okay? Now that you identify the substance you're measuring, the next thing you want to do is just assign a number to it for each level of contrast, okay? It's as simple as that. Basically, how will you know if the substance went up or down? This number must be objective and coming from the outside world and not subjective in your head or through feelings, right? I'll show you exactly how I'll do it with this goal. So for our beautiful example, like we said, the substance we're measuring here is physical intimacy, right? So all you do here is just assign a number to the most intimate moments to the least intimate moments, right? And a number to the moments in between as well. So you can do this by taking inspiration from the efficient cause that I mentioned in the previous section, right? So let's say, for example, blowjob is 100% intimacy. This is like the final form that you want to achieve, right? Then 75% will be something like kissing, right? And 50% could be something like holding hands on a date, right? 25% might be texting and communication, and then 0% is just being a loner virgin, not talking to anyone, you know? So that's the contrast, and we added a number to each different level of the contrast. These are like the different milestones, you know? And they're not subjective, they are not in your head. Instead, they are in the physical world, you know? They are physical data. And when you fuck up, you will know exactly where on this line did you fuck up. And you can take this even a step further, to be honest, and you can identify each milestone to make things even clearer, you know. You can identify like 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, you know. But you want to keep it simple, you know. Always keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate shit and start counting every single milli%, you know. Don't do that shit, because it doesn't help you, nor does it help anyone else. So here are some examples of units of measurements, right? It could be like, for example, time spent doing X. It could be units, it could be X units produced, you know, or like X rewards collected, X actions done. You know, you may have noticed the theme here, but basically, you don't measure the goal itself, you measure the evidence which shows that the goal is actually happening IRL, you know, in real fucking life. What are the observable things that only happen when this substance increases, you know? You don't choose the unit of measurement, you choose the goal, and then you discover the unit of measurement, okay? This thing you're measuring here must be outside of your head and verifiable and falsifiable by someone else or by reality itself, you know. Really take a moment to think about how can you create a unit of measurement that is dependent on physical world data. And then finally, now at the end, after all this shit, the reference point is simply just where do you want to be on this line? That's it, you know? What do you consider as a success? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? Is it 200%? Heck, maybe you even want to get a whole ass fucking harem of goat baddies, you know, at 600 fucking percent. It's up to you, you know? You do whatever the fuck you want. But again, be careful and remember to keep the goal within the range you're at, okay? So that you can actually see the small early progress, like I explained earlier with the overshooting problem, okay? Don't forget that shit. If you can't define what success looks like, or what good looks like by yourself, then you want to either talk to other experienced people in this field and look and see, you know, try and identify what they have done. What's their opinion, you know? Look at like the average, you know, and high performance, and again try to contrast them against each other's, you know. Like I said at the start of the section, our minds can only understand something if it compares it to something else. So find the different options, you know. What do they look like next to each other's? What is good? What is average? What is above average? What is a beginner? And what is exceptional? Okay? So yeah, that's it for this section. That's it for this video. In the next few videos, we're gonna be, you know, identifying the psychology, your philosophy, and these are like the invisible mental limitations holding you back, okay? I will actually shatter your fucking reality in the next video, so stay tuned for that. And then with the one after that, we're gonna explore the action system and how to make action effortless and unbreakable, right? And then we're gonna establish the sensor and all the things that I discussed in the control theory video, okay? So make sure you stay tuned, all right? Take care.